If I understand correctly, your name came up 2 years ago as a possible contender also for this seat, and you
Right.
had conversations with the National Republican Committee. What's changed since then? Because obviously,
Well, I was never a candidate. I never announced that I was running. I was searching to see if my interest peaked in politics, which I have a great interest in politics, but the timing wasn't right for me. After I looked into it a little bit, and the job opportunities where I could earn some money and save some money in case I ever made that decision in the future.
what are your priorities if elected? Talk about spending.
That's number one priority. So Washington has to stop the spending. It has to not only freeze what they're doing, but stop these crazy programs that they're putting together that's just costing us more and more money. People that I've spoken to in the public are concerned about the number one issue that comes up is spending. When is this going to stop, and how is it going to stop? Not only do we stop the spending, we need to downsize Washington. We need to cut the spending, and we need to cut the size of the government. It is so far out of control that it's heart-wrenching. We can, if people are retiring or lose their job for some reason, or quit for whatever particular reason in the federal government, we should not be hiring one more person to work in the federal government. And I'm not saying throw everybody out of a job that's in Washington, but we can save a great deal through attrition, but it has to get to the point where things have to be downsized considerably. We can't continue expanding the programs that are in existence that don't work, and we can't continue to create new programs to try and fix it. Washington has to get across in their minds that spending is not going to get us out of the debt that we are in.
What process, how do you go about identifying the areas to be cut? Because obviously there's going to be significant differences in opinion between someone from the Midwest, someone from yourself, someone from the West Coast. I mean, it's easy to say we need to downsize Washington, but what kind of plan do you have for it?
I asked a group of people with whom I was talking one night. We were in an auditorium, and there were 3 sections. And I asked just a general question, what's important to you, and what's important to you in the middle, and what's important to you in the 3rd section. And as I thought it was going to be, there were different reasons. So the point I got across to people is, you want me to cut those 2 groups' programs, but not yours, and vice versa among the entire group. We have to cut back on most programs that are taking place in Washington, with exception to 3 programs that I have in mind that we have to take a very, very close look at. I believe in a strong defense. A strong defense has proved itself for us today. Number 2, we cannot cut the benefits for senior citizens. Although Social Security was only designed to be a supplement to your income, or to our income, it has grown into, I'm living on my Social Security. And somebody has to take the hit for that. And the hit is probably going to be our generation who's going to get us out of that debt and pay for it. And the 3rd area is for veterans. Anybody who's dodging bullets for me, as far as I'm concerned, deserves to come back and retire. I don't care what their age is. I know that's not going to happen, but to protecting the vets and making sure that they have a common sense, reasonable pension and a health care program. But the other departments we need to take a serious look at and start cutting back.
In the primary, how much are you planning to spend in the primary? What do you estimate campaign will cost?
I'm planning on spending as little as possible because I know how expensive the general election is going to be. I've been told by Washington it's going to be, the general election, $1.5 to $2 million, which is outrageous, but that's the way it is. So actually I'm basing my expenditures on the general election and then working back. I'm out there raising money as much as I can. It's very difficult. I'm not a wealthy person, and I don't have that kind of money to put into a campaign. And to tell you the truth, someone to put $1 million or $2 million into a campaign is, if I had my druthers, we'd be putting much less of that into the campaign. But so far, I have not had to spend that much. The report's going to come out as to what we've raised thus far, and I believe I've spent maybe 20% of that, maybe about $10,000, $15,000. Don't hold me to those figures because I don't keep track of them. My job is to go out and get people to vote for me, what sets me apart from the others in the primary, and to raise money.
Who do you go to when you're seeking donations? I imagine it's hard during this economic climate to get people to be receptive, especially when there's still 3 candidates in the field. Who are you approaching first, and what kind of reaction are you getting?
I go to acquaintances and friends, family. I go to people that I meet as I'm out as I'm out on the stump. I go to people who are recommended to me by candidates that are already in office or who have run for office. I start looking to see who contributed and start calling those people.
On the 15th, what do you expect your campaign will report for how much money you've raised?
My campaign is going to report $99,002 or $300, something like that.
Do you have personal restrictions on you won't take money from certain individuals? Are there any rules that you've established in your own mind?
Yeah, I won't take money from criminals. I won't take money from drug dealers. Whoever I take money from, the point is made very clearly that simply because you're donating to my campaign doesn't mean that you would have any different, any more, any better access to one member of Congress than people who do not donate to the campaign or people who vote against me.